With great compassion, you embrace world of strife and defilement. You made 500 vast and noble vows. Praising you as a white lotus, hearing your name never regress. I prostrate to the compassionate master. From the sacred realm of Mount Wutai, the blessings of Manjushri merge into your heart. I pray to the Venerable Jigme Phuntsok. May the blessings of the mind transmission grant realization. The unsurpassed, profound, and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in thousands eons. Now that I see, hear, receive, and uphold it, may I fully realize the true meaning of the Tathagata. To liberate all sentient beings, I ask everyone to give rise to the unsurpassable bodhicitta.
Today, we will briefly and comprehensively talk with everyone about the profound and deeply meaningful practice known as the swift bestowal of blessings, a guru yoga, exploring its significance and benefits in detail. This guru yoga practice should be very clear and understandable to everyone, so perhaps it would be fine even if we didn't explicitly discuss it at all. However, the other day, a few Khenpos also mentioned that they wanted me to talk about it a bit. The fundamental idea is to gently remind everyone about some of the truly important and essential aspects of the profound practice of Guru Yoga. Also, at our institute, we are focusing on the upcoming annual autumn retreat in 2025, which is scheduled to take place very soon, which will last about half a month or a bit longer. During this period, everyone is required to practice the Guru Yoga of His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. So, before the retreat, it would be good for everyone to have some understanding of the Guru Yoga ritual, to gain some renewed understanding and familiarity with it. In this particular way, it might indeed be absolutely necessary. At first, I genuinely thought it might not be all that necessary, because many gurus have already spoken about it and have taught Guru Yoga many times. Moreover, many of our Dharma friends are practicing and reciting it every day. So whether or not to practice is really up to each individual. No one truly needs to worry about fully understanding its profound meaning or its intricate implications, because our Rinpoche, His Holiness himself, personally said that Guru Yoga is extremely concise and straightforward, easy to understand. Although it truly contains profound and deeply meaningful content and extraordinary blessings for each and every person, it is especially easy to understand. Therefore, it may not necessarily be required. After much deliberation and going back and forth on this matter, it was ultimately decided through discussion that tonight we will give a brief yet meaningful teaching, because today is also a significant day for offering to the revered Dakinis, which is very important as well. So some of the virtues we mentioned earlier also need to be dedicated. And we should also make offerings to thank the Dakinis and Dharma protectors. So today, let us all take a comprehensive and detailed look together at the sacred text known as the Swift Bestowal of Blessings, a Guru Yoga. As for this particular topic, it is widely acknowledged that everyone present here is already quite familiar with its significance and teachings. If you remember, it was 30 years ago today that His Holiness, the wish-fulfilling jewel, or maybe it was in June, almost 30 years ago, that this text was composed at this time. This year marks exactly 30 years. That year, after His Holiness returned from Singapore during the summer, he began composing the Guru Yoga at the peaceful place in Nanshan. Afterwards, right here at this land of victory over demons, we adopted it as one of our daily recitations, because on my side, perhaps it's a bit selfish if we include it in our daily curriculum and recite it without interruption every day during class. I feel reluctant to let it be interrupted. This includes the ritual of Shakyamuni Buddha and the Guru Yoga. In the past, I also made a vow before my teacher to recite it every day. In this way, on one hand, I myself won't break the continuity, and on the other hand, many people present here, if we recite, practice, and chant it every day, should gradually receive blessings in their mind. It's already been over 30 years. Speaking of great enlightenment and such, that's not really the case, but at the very least, to some extent, we consistently follow the text every single day, and everyone diligently recites and practices together, which I genuinely believe is a long-term, ongoing practice. So each individual person should, therefore, have gained some significant benefit to varying degrees. So this year, the Institute has explicitly required that whether it's the monks at Laronggar, or the nuns, or even the lay practitioners, have been assigned to various places in all directions, east, south, west, and north, in every corner. And the Dharma friends in each of these places are also required to practice Guru Yoga. Of course, in each place, the specific circumstances may not necessarily be entirely the same. Some particular places are indeed very much like our institute, where specifically during the holy month of the Buddha's descent from the heavens, there are opportunities for more than 2 weeks of retreat. If such wonderful opportunities truly exist, I also sincerely hope that no matter which world or realm we find ourselves in, this month is extremely auspicious, because back then His Holiness also felt that among the major Dharma assemblies at our institute, they were actually based on the 4 special and significant festivals of Shakyamuni Buddha, and for the Buddha's descent month, this and this. We talk about others, but in fact we also say this and this ourselves. This, the person who lectured me for a full 3 hours without stopping. Now he himself has also gone into retreat. No matter where we are in this vast world, everyone can also practice according to the Guru Rinpoche's practice sadhana. This is extremely, extremely important. If you can make time for yourself and have a suitable place, and if possible, for some Dharma friends, if you don't have too many things to do, it's best to do it during that period. That is to say, during this Buddha's Descent month, there are 2 important things in the Buddha's Descent month. One is that everyone goes into retreat. Every year there is a retreat, and to do retreat during these special days. There is also the practice of reciting Amitabha Buddha's mantra 300,000 times. This is something we should do no matter where we are. If you are a disciple of the Larung tradition, it's truly best to complete it yourself, isn't that right? If at this time it appears that your current schedule is quite challenging and difficult to arrange effectively, we need to review and determine which specific time during this month would be most suitable for you. Even if you absolutely cannot do a full 2-week retreat, see if you can do 1 week. If it's really, really not possible, then 3 days, even that, so that your connection with Larung's blessings remains unbroken. That would be very good. If you can't even meet this condition, you should still diligently recite the profound prayer to the precious Guru. That's the significant prayer we'll be discussing in more detail below. This very important prayer, everyone is required to recite it 10,000 times this year. Earlier at noon, a few of us Dharma teachers were saying, for some people that's way too few. It would be better to recite it 1,000,000 times. 1,000,000 times would still be okay. 10,000 times is too little. Some people say that 100,000 times is more reasonable. Some people say that even 10,000 times is a bit too much, because reciting this isn't actually that easy. So everyone's situation might be different. But regardless, our overall requirement here is that everyone should recite it 10,000 times. These 10,000 recitations are best completed during the month of the descent from heaven. At the very latest, it should still be within that period. If you can't finish during the month of the descent from heaven, then it might be considered as not necessarily being able to fulfill your vow completely. Because for some things, if we don't recite at that time, it might get postponed and may not be completed later on. So regarding this requirement from our institute this year, I hope everyone will take it seriously. Although everyone may have their own matters to attend to, many people have collective responsibilities as well as personal matters. But it's important to distinguish between what is important and what is secondary. We need to be clear about that. Some people ask, how do you handle your important matters? Do you go into retreat or not? I've thought about this myself as well. This year I probably won't be able to go into retreat either, but mainly I have some books and such, and I also want to have a proper retreat myself. Would it be better to recite for 2 weeks, or are there still some things to do, including some translation work? In this case, which option is more beneficial for sentient beings? In the end, it might be decided by my own discriminating thoughts. Some things might not be possible to do during retreat, at least temporarily. But as for myself, I also want to strive to practice diligently at different times. So regarding the time for retreat this year, everyone should take it seriously. Because if we don't engage in retreat and practice properly, if we don't practice Guru Yoga well, in reality, even if we master the 5 great treatises, even if we master the action tantra, when it actually comes time to apply them, sometimes it is indeed very difficult. As for the Dharma, compared to some worldly professors and teachers, what is the difference? In Buddhism, there is a practical aspect to it. One must practice in relation to one's own mental continuum. If this is lacking, then there is not much difference between us and lecturers in worldly schools, or some researchers in schools. There really isn't much difference. So in the past, after the parinirvana of our Guru, His Holiness, everyone discussed this matter repeatedly and realized that if we do not study the Vajrayana teachings properly, it would be a great loss for a Buddhist who practices both Sutra and Tantra. It is truly a significant loss if we do not specifically set aside a period of time each year and just keep talking and talking. In the end, life passes by in a flash. A whole lifetime goes by without even spending 7 days in practice. This is also quite laughable for someone who truly does long-term retreat. Now, 7 days or even 2 sets of 7 days would not really count as practice or as a retreat at all. In the past, in our monastery, there was a truly remarkable lifelong retreatant, a revered figure named Lama Wangdu, who had been in continuous retreat, diligently and devotedly, ever since the early 1980s. He was never, ever distracted from his profound spiritual practice. He passed away last year. He was an excellent retreat practitioner. Once I went to the area next to his retreat hut. I said, "I'm looking for a place here to see if I can build a retreat hut." He said, "You have so many things to do, you probably won't be able to do retreat." I said, "Maybe I can't manage a long-term retreat, but at least I can do a 7-day retreat each year. That would be a bit better." Then he smiled and said, 7 days doesn't really count as a retreat. Later, I thought about it and realized he was right. He himself spent his entire life in retreat, so doing just 7 days a year really doesn't amount to much. He had been in retreat for over 30 years. He also passed away in his retreat hut last year. He truly never lay down to sleep at night. He was always sitting. Such was his way of practice. So compared to people like him, including those in Tibetan Buddhism nowadays, who do 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days of retreat, for these retreat practitioners, our mere 7 days might not really count as a retreat, but it's still better than not doing retreat at all. If every day is spent in distraction, then it could go on endlessly. During the retreat, I also hope that if you do a retreat, make it a genuine one. Otherwise, if it's half retreat and half distraction, especially nowadays when on the outside it truly looks like a peaceful retreat, but on the inside you're actually online watching various videos, doing all sorts of distracting things, then you might actually be even more distracted than if you weren't in retreat at all. This has happened before as well. There are a very small number of individuals who, during their personal retreat, tends to buy a significant amount of television series, some with over 100 episodes, and end up finishing several of them every day. These are a tiny minority, not the majority, but such distracted people do exist. So when the great masters of the past went into retreat, at the very beginning they would make a very firm and solemn vow in their own deepest hearts. Khenpo Ngakchung also said this, that even during retreat, even if one's own parents were to pass away, one would not leave the retreat. This is the kind of determination one should have. If you have this kind of resolve, then your retreat is likely to be successful. Otherwise, it seems that in our daily lives we have study, contemplation, and practice. But during retreat, your teacher can't keep an eye on you all the time. So if you are completely distracted, you might actually be in even more danger and trouble when you come out of retreat. Therefore, this retreat of ours is actually also extremely important for practicing Guru Yoga. Of course, the importance of Guru Yoga is something we've discussed before. Everyone here understands this. Patrul Rinpoche also said that Guru Yoga may appear to be a preliminary practice, but in fact it is the actual main practice. Whether you are practicing the Sutrayana or any form of Vajrayana, it contains no deviation or danger whatsoever, to put it in modern terms. It is what we call a zero-risk benefit. There is no risk involved. If we practice the generation stage or the completion stage, then with the channels, wands, and essence drops, if we do not use them properly, it is possible to go mad when coming out of retreat, or there could be many other dangers. But as for Guru Yoga, In fact, whether one practices Sutrayana, Vajrayana, or even if one has not yet received the full empowerment, one can still practice it. At first glance, the practice of Guru Yoga, and even if you carefully look at each individual word, it actually contains the profound teachings of Dzogchen. But on the surface, it is also similar to some of the practices in the Sutrayana tradition, such as the Kriya and Charya Tantras. There are quite a few notable similarities. Therefore, as you diligently practice, you will undoubtedly discover many more. See whether you truly have a comprehensive and well thought out plan for yourself. Every dedicated practitioner, even if it's just for a short period of 7 days, having a good plan for yourself is truly excellent. Some people might wonder, Guru Rinpoche has already passed away for more than 20 years now. If I practice his Guru Yoga, will I still receive blessings? If the Guru were still alive today, and I visualize him, then it would be easy to quickly receive his blessings. But since the Guru has been gone for such a long time, if we practice, can we still connect with him? Can we still receive his blessings and attain realization? In fact, this doubt is absolutely unnecessary. If we look at the great masters of the past practicing Guru Yoga, basically when the Guru was still alive, there actually weren't that many people practicing his Guru Yoga. I remember back in 1987, His Holiness taught us the Pramanavartika. While teaching the Pramanavartika, in the middle of the teaching, His Holiness said, it should have been omniscient me from Rinpoche, right? In his writings, there is a Guru Yoga practice for Master Dharmakirti. He instructed us to recite and practice it. So during the period when we were studying Pramana, we kept practicing it. Later on, my own copy. Even now, it's still preserved in my Pramana text, but I haven't recited it much. Later, when teaching Entering the Way of the Great Vehicle, His Holiness again told us to practice the Guru Yoga of Rongzom Pandita. So you can also think about this. How many years has it been since Master Dharmakirti? It's also been about 1,000 years since Rongzom Pandita. So if we have faith ourselves, even if the Guru has passed away for many years, there is absolutely no problem with receiving his blessings. It is entirely possible to connect with them. So with this kind of mindset, everyone should practice. As for the meaning of the word practice, we can also give a simple introduction to everyone. But as for this Guru Yoga, it is indeed very important, whether in the Sutrayana or Tantrayana traditions. It is also very important. And as mentioned before, it seems that in the Agama Sutra, it is said that when Ananda was having a dialogue with the Buddha, Ananda said that most of Buddhism relies on spiritual friends to attain realization. At that time, the Buddha said, "You are wrong, it is not like that." It should be that all of Buddhism relies on spiritual friends. As for the Guru, we can also rely on scriptural authority and logical reasoning to directly receive blessings ourselves. If we speak from the perspective of scriptural authority, we have also mentioned before, haven't we? Do not cry, my dear Ananda. Do not weep. Do not grieve. Do not sorrow, Ananda. In the future, I will manifest as spiritual friends to benefit all of you. This means that, according to the teachings, in fact, all gurus who have genuine realization are actually emanations of the Buddha. When the Buddha is in the degenerate age, if he were to benefit beings in the form of the Buddha, sometimes that's not very realistic. Therefore, he manifests in the form of a spiritual teacher to guide beings. In this way, when we think of the Guru, when we visualize the Guru, we are actually visualizing the Buddha. So, from the perspective of scriptural authority, this is also established. Then, if we speak from the perspective of logical reasoning, we can also say, I seem to recall, that in the commentary on preliminaries, this is also mentioned. Why do we pray to the Guru? Actually, it is to regard the Guru as the Buddha. The main reason for regarding the Guru as the Buddha is, first, that the Guru is the Dharmakaya Buddha. The Guru's innermost intent, the Guru's wisdom, is in fact the Dharmakaya itself, and the Dharmakaya is the true nature of our own mind. In this way, the Guru is the Dharmakaya Buddha. That's one aspect. The second aspect is that the Guru's activities are the Buddha's activities. Why is that? If someone is truly a spiritual teacher, their activities are solely for the benefit of sentient beings and nothing else. The Buddha's activities are also solely for the benefit of sentient beings. Is there anything else? Indeed, the Buddha also had no other activities. And then the third point is that the Guru's kindness surpasses even that of the Buddha, because more than 3,000 years ago, the Buddha came to this world and turned the Dharma wheel 3 times, but he was still unable to liberate us. Now, in this degenerate age, 500 years after the Buddha, a spiritual teacher has come to this world in human form, bestowing empowerments and imparting teachings to me, allowing the parched continuum of my mind to be nourished. That Karma Wangpo Danseng No, in his biography or perhaps in his teachings, said that when we pray to the Guru, we must have a sense of gratitude. It is with this sense of gratitude that we should pray. Indeed, for many of us, our worldly way of doing things is that, for example, if someone gives me some wealth, gives me some status, or gives me some fame, we feel very grateful to them, very appreciative of them. But what the Guru gives us is not just some similar kind of gift. It is a gift that transcends birth and death, transcends samsara. Such a great gift as this. In this world, aside from the Guru, no one else, including my parents, my relatives, my spouse, no one is able to bestow it upon me. So if we truly understand this principle, the benefit that the Guru brings to us cannot be expressed in words, cannot be conceived by our discriminating thoughts. It can truly be said to be completely inconceivable. The fourth crucial aspect to consider, the spiritual Guru is truly the living embodiment of the 3 precious jewels. This is because all the sacred Buddha jewel, the profound Dharma jewel, and the venerable Sangha jewel are fully present within the Guru, are all embodied in the Guru. This is made very clear in many teachings. It is also explained very clearly. Therefore, when we take refuge in the Guru. If we take refuge in the Guru, then the activities of all 3, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, are encompassed within him. Or the Guru's body, speech, and mind can be called the 3 jewels. Now the last one, the 5th aspect, is to pray to the Guru. By praying to the Guru, one can receive the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Moreover, these blessings will be received swiftly and powerfully. Actually, if a person truly wants to attain enlightenment, there may be several ways. One way is to follow the stages of listening, contemplating, and meditating, and then attain enlightenment oneself. We first study the 5 great treatises, and through debate and reflection, in this way, we can also attain enlightenment. But when it comes to attaining enlightenment, the most fundamental point is probably to realize emptiness. Without realizing emptiness, many of the so-called enlightenments we have now don't really count. Of course, in some of the Nyingma Pith instruction texts, it is said that the true nature of the mind is luminosity. But this luminosity, it is somewhat difficult to directly realize it, because the very essence of luminosity must be emptiness. As for the principle of emptiness, if one does not have a firm understanding of it, it is very difficult to truly attain enlightenment. Therefore, if we follow a certain sequence or progression through the regular process of listening, contemplating, and meditating, but even with listening, contemplation, and meditation without the guidance of a teacher, if we just rely on our own imagination or personal effort, it is very difficult to truly attain enlightenment. Even to drive a tractor, you need a teacher to instruct you. To learn how to use a computer, you also need a teacher to teach you. If you want to learn to drive, you also need a teacher. If there is no teacher, even the smartest person might not be able to pass the test. The same principle applies here. Practices of listening, contemplation, and meditation, except for a very few exceptional individuals, it is unlikely that anyone can rely solely, entirely on their own ability to realize emptiness. Such cases simply do not exist. There is also a second path, which is to rely on the blessings of the teacher directly infused into our hearts. This is a very special method of attaining enlightenment. In the biographies of many great masters throughout history, for many practitioners, it seems that just a word or two from the teacher, or even when the teacher says nothing at all, but when you pray, whether in a dream or in your meditative experience, or in your own pure and clear vision, you will truly receive the teacher's profound blessings. These profound and abundant blessings consistently follow you like an ever-present shadow, faithfully accompanying you throughout your entire journey. This is a deeply resonant truth, something that a great many of us can genuinely and tangibly feel within our hearts and minds. Therefore, during the immersive and contemplative experience of a spiritual retreat, make a conscious effort to truly explore and develop a profound sense of the biographies of many teachers in the past. During their retreats, when they prayed to their teacher, They had an especially courageous and a truly intense and a deep devotion, as if they were truly standing before their teacher, pouring out their hearts in tears. If you can pray with such an urgent and heartfelt mind, with this kind of devotion, then the teacher's blessings will naturally merge into your heart. At that moment, whether it is practicing, studying and contemplating, or benefiting sentient beings, all of these become effortless. Of course, we understand this principle, but truly attaining it may not be that common. However, it's not that it never happens. In fact, many people through this kind of practice, who originally had very stubborn and unyielding minds, after a period of practice and relying on a spiritual teacher for some time, eventually find that their minds change very quickly. At that point, any practice becomes easier. So when we practice Guru Yoga, everyone should be mentally prepared for it. If you don't have this kind of preparation, it seems you won't understand its importance. The Institute requires this, and you can't go out, it's very tiring. And if you have to stay like this every day, how exhausting it is. In this way, with a sense of suffering, pressure, or a feeling of being forced to practice Guru Yoga, these 15 days might be very hard to endure. Wow, there's even this. For example, if we're detained for 15 days, when will I be released? When can I get out? If you have this kind of mindset, then it's better not to do a retreat at all. It might even be better to just go out and have some fun. Otherwise, there's really nothing you can do. Your mind has no enthusiasm for the Dharma at all. If you have no enthusiasm for the Dharma, it feels like you're forcing yourself, just like a yak locked up in a pen. In this case, when you come out, the stewards are always watching me, always keeping an eye on me. If I don't go out, it's really stifling at home. It's very sad, very exhausting, and very painful. Oh, if it goes on like this, will I end up, when I finish the retreat, already suffering from depression or anxiety? Will I have some kind of problem? If you keep thinking like this, it really can be quite distressing. And there's not much meaning in it either. It's just that on the surface you've done a retreat, but in reality, let alone observing your mind or your teacher, you don't even have your mind resting in a relatively pleasant and peaceful state. In this case, it really might not be very meaningful. So we should all think about this in advance. In our short lives, there are only a few such opportunities, and maybe not many at all. But no matter what, we have this very important and fundamental requirement for everyone involved. We absolutely need to diligently practice Guru Yoga, which is a profound and essential spiritual discipline. So as for the Guru Yoga from the Dharma King, we've also seen many significant Guru Yogas. Great Guru practices, various and diverse Guru practices. But at this time, look at this kind of Guru Yoga. It seems to have very few words, but when we are truly in retreat, it might be helpful to read some biographies of the Guru. This is very important. Not only our own Guru, but also other revered Gurus. How exactly did they practice their teachings? I highly recommend reading the comprehensive biography of Khenpo Ngagchung, which offers profound insights into his life and spiritual journey, and His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche's biography as well. Especially not long ago, Khenpo Yeshe was also talking about this. He translated the earliest foundational version of The Nectar of Faith, which is in essence a relatively concise Guru biography. At that time, he also asked everyone before and after class to spend approximately about 10 minutes carefully reading through it. On one hand, regarding the Guru, the teachings that inspire faith, and the biographies that inspire faith, at the same time, recite some verses calling out to the Guru. For example, the Dharma King's prayer to Mifam Rinpoche, calling the Guru from afar, and Patrul Rinpoche's calling the Guru from afar. There are many such prayers of calling the Guru from afar. On one hand, we recite some Guru Yoga practices, and in the meantime, we can truly have some of our very own unique way to, though we can't be too loud here in this place, but at the very least, use our own. And if your voice is pleasant, sing with a melodious voice. If that's not the case, there are some audio recordings online of Guru supplication prayers. Relying on these supplication prayers with a very strong sense in your heart, pray to the Guru with faith. You must think, no matter when or where I am, I must receive the wisdom of the oral transmission from your mind stream, so that it naturally and directly flows into my own mind stream. In this very session, may I receive your blessings and realization, including all that you possess in your mind stream, such as renunciation, bodhicitta, and non-dual wisdom, as well as the inconceivable realization of Dzogchen and so on. In fact, if we practice in this way, the human mind, if the conditions are favorable, can change very quickly. But if the conditions are unfavorable, even after decades of study, reflection, and meditation, in the end, it seems the mind drifts further and further from the Dharma. Whether it's due to a person's circumstances or their capacity, there are indeed certain differences. Some people study and practice for a long time, but in the end, it seems their mind stream is tens of thousands of miles away from the Dharma. For some people, even with only a short period of study and practice, the results are very apparent and the efficiency is very high. We can put it in modern terms like this. So perhaps when it comes to Guru Yoga, it depends on how everyone understands it. So next, let's briefly, on a literal level, I will share some thoughts with everyone based on my own understanding. It seems I've talked about this a few times before, but I don't precisely remember exactly how I thoroughly explained it back then. Now, as people gradually get older and older, they tend to forget things more quickly. It's not just us, many people are like this. When they were young, they were very diligent in listening, contemplating, and practicing. They memorized many treatises and scriptures, but when they reach old age, basically almost all of it is gone. But it's okay, we don't feel distressed about it. Because these causes and conditions are very good. In the course of life, to form a connection with the treatises of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and to devote our efforts in this area is a very meaningful kind of ascetic practice. In our present worldly life, people work so hard just to support their families and make a living. They endure so much hardship, leaving early and returning late, working under the stars and moon. It's very tough. But at most, this only brings some benefit in terms of food, shelter, and transportation in this life. The benefits are limited to these aspects. So when we practice for the sake of all sentient beings, such practice is extremely meaningful. Therefore, I also hope that when everyone goes into retreat, beforehand, you might also do some of the preparations for retreat that we often talk about, some preparations for going into retreat, including for a 7-day or 15-day retreat, the food and drinks you will need during the retreat. Because generally here, sometimes if you need to fetch water at night, you can go at night for these things. But during the day, the retreat is strictly observed. Indeed, speaking from the perspective of the Institute as a whole, in previous years, the retreat environment was very quiet. Many people in society have also commented, wow, such a large institute. But when they actually arrive here, they can hardly see a single person. To have such a peaceful city, it's still unbelievable. Many people, if they want to quiet down, everyone has to settle down completely. And when it's time to be lively, everyone just, in the past, we could hold Vajra Dharma assemblies and chant mantras loudly, or hold Vajra entertainment gatherings where everyone danced the Vajra dance, and everyone could come out for that. But now, although we can't do this so openly, no matter what, actually, here, most people are very good, and everyone is still very self-disciplined. Moreover, everyone understands the importance of this. And it's not as if just because the steward says so, it's like we're just doing things for the steward. It's not like that at all. Everyone feels, wow, at this time, on one hand, it's a special festival of the Buddha, the time when he descended from the heavens to the human world to turn the Dharma wheel, when we were discussing the Ksitigarbha Sutra. In the earlier section on the origin and the preface, we also talked about these principles. On the other hand, this is something the Guru specifically instructed, and so many people connected to the Institute and the Institute itself at the same time, when everyone is entering meditation, when everyone is reciting and practicing, then compared to other times and other merits, this is truly inconceivable. Some other people seem to be like this. Yesterday, I also spoke with the people from the labor company here. I said, among you, it's possible that some of you have a favorable impression and some do not. But speaking of so many monastics, in other places there may only be a few monks. For example, a few hundred, a few dozen, or a few thousand. When I was young, whenever I saw 2 or 3 monks, I would often ask them to bless some water or to bless myself. But among so many people here, if everyone comes together for retreat and group practice, then the power is truly immense. So if you have time, whether you are connected to our institute or have little to do with the institute, at the very same time, our virtuous roots can be truly dedicated and carefully upheld together. This profound benefit is also truly inconceivable. Also, when we diligently practice, just as I mentioned earlier, I hope everyone, including regarding food and drink, can prepare many things in advance. making all the necessary preparations ahead of time. This includes when you are meditating, you may have some images of Guru Yoga in front of you, such as photos or tankas. All of these should be arranged. Then make some simple offerings in front of them. When you set your intention, you should also uphold it with the 3 supreme methods. First, if you are doing 4 sessions a day, at the beginning of the first session, think to yourself, this time I will practice Guru Yoga well. So why am I practicing? It is not for my own health, nor for my own wealth or peace of mind, but for the sake of all sentient beings throughout the boundless world. In this way, you uphold it with bodhicitta. Then, while you are practicing in the middle, sometimes you keep visualizing in your mind. Actually, our practice is this kind of mental visualization. This is very important. In some retreats at the Institute, there is also a lot of recitation, mainly chanting out loud, and this is done more often. This is also very good. But if you have some energy, it is best to keep visualizing in your mind and silently praying. Think about the Guru's qualities and the Guru's kindness. Then also think about what the Guru has done for us. Just as I mentioned earlier, the Guru truly is no different from a Buddha. Why is that? Because everything the Guru does, everything he says and does, everything he thinks, is all for the benefit of sentient beings. Apart from benefiting sentient beings, there is nothing else. So if the Guru is not a Buddha, then who is a Buddha? We should have a lot of this kind of reflection. Usually many of us have a rich sense of creativity and imagination. At this time, all of your imagination should be focused on matters related to faith in the Guru. Think in this direction. If you do this, it truly is just as Mipham Rinpoche said. If a truly good practitioner practices for 7 days, even the winds and channels in the body begin to relax. If we practice Guru Yoga for 7 days, in the end, we may receive some blessings and benefit ourselves. This is an inevitable law. Of course, if we practice half-heartedly, and on the surface we're playing with our phones or making calls at the same time, even though our bodies are in retreat and no one outside can see us, inside we're constantly looking at this, scrolling through videos for a while, then surfing the internet for a bit. Then we definitely won't gain any merit from it. This is inevitable because the immense and undeniable power of the human mind is still profoundly strong and influential. This is a universally acknowledged truth that resonates with everyone. So, for today's discussion, let's begin by taking a comprehensive yet simple look at this fascinating subject. What the text literally says, let's have a look.
Lami namjur shenlup nirtsur jigso an kurnde chukan katagri bi nga rangdang manga ishi gurni ngo kwardan jamba dorje nambar kyachchi yevjen no ranya.
First, let's talk about Guru Yoga. This Guru Yoga, according to Indian Sanskrit, is called Guru Yoga. Guru means teacher, and yoga means union or practice. So, yoga here refers to the practice of union. What does this mean? It means that through this kind of practice, I become attuned to the Guru. The Guru's wisdom, his compassion, his power, as well as his altruistic mind, his compassionate bodhicitta, and so on. The Guru is actually the embodiment of all kinds of virtues. So regarding these virtues, right now I am just an ordinary person. I want to attain all of these virtues of the Guru, to become attuned to them. This attunement is what we refer to as yoga. Yoga, like in Mahayoga, Anuyoga, and so on. These are all considered great yogas, etc. But in fact, they all mean spiritual connection or union. Through practice, originally, there might have been a certain distance between myself and the Guru. There is a certain distance. But now, it's not that I just make some offerings to please the Guru. That is not true union. So what is true union? It is when all the virtues within the Guru's continuum are received by me, as if a full bottle is being poured out, or I have received them. Just like how a meticulously crafted mold leaves a distinct and lasting imprint, a detailed impression on a small sacred satsa, which is a miniature votive clay image often used in our Buddhist practices. In this way, I have gained something. This kind of practice, here it is used as a metaphor for swiftly bestowing blessings. In a very short time, rapidly, after we finish the practice, we immediately experience this response. Indeed, over all these years, everyone has been every day, including now reciting before class. When we recite before class, many people, especially when we pray to our Guru, the wish-fulfilling jewel, if the chant leader's voice is also loud and clear, and everyone joins their palms together at such times. one naturally receives this kind of blessing. Just like a couple of days ago when we watched the empowerment of wisdom warrior Manjushri. Although this empowerment cannot represent us truly conferring it upon others, it can't be done like that. Otherwise, in the future, such rules will gradually be lost, which is not good. But if it's for oneself to receive blessings, that's definitely possible. Sometimes now, when we listen to an audio recording of a certain teacher or watch a video of a certain teacher, if we have faith in them, it's as if the real person is right in front of us. We can completely bring ourselves into that state. This is the miraculous transformation of the Guru's inconceivable blessings. So when we practice this Dharma, everyone can receive it together. Moreover, this practice, as mentioned earlier, is actually very simple. When we meditate, there's nothing we don't understand. It's also very convenient to recite. And these practices of His Holiness in today's era, in a world where the pace of life is especially fast. His Holiness's practices like Manjushri Great Perfection, including Vajrakila, Wisdom Warrior Manjushri, as well as several other short practices, are extremely well suited to modern times. Because nowadays the world is an era of fast food. Many people don't have time to do things or even to eat. Why are takeout and fast food so popular now? That's why these things are so popular. Everyone just doesn't have time. All their time is spent on all sorts of trivial matters. It seems as if life is especially convenient for people, but in reality, it's an era where people are actually very troubled. At such a time, all these complex contents are completely integrated and harmonious. In the process of one's own practice, this is also a practice that allows you to quickly receive blessings. It's very important. That's why it's called the swift bestowal of blessings, so that we can receive blessings in a very short time. That's the meaning of swiftly receiving blessings. Next, the practice is divided into several stages. The first is mainly about how to visualize Guru Yoga. Here first there is the syllable Ah. Ah means unborn. It is also the first thing to visualize. Do not have any attachment to the reality of any phenomena, because attachment to inherent existence actually prevents us from attaining liberation. Therefore, this emptiness is the essence of all the Buddha's teachings. Previously, we translated a text called the one-syllable Prajna Paramita. The one-syllable Prajna Paramita contains only the syllable Ah. In Mipham Rinpoche's sadhana, there is also a practice involving the syllable Ah. So this Ah represents emptiness. Or, to put it another way, our Guru's full name is named Abela Jangarao, also carries the meaning of emptiness, the meaning of unborn. Next, all the phenomena of samsara and nirvana are primordially pure within the experience of pure awareness, within its unceasing self-radiance, an expanse of five-colored wisdom light. In essence, you are the glorious Manjuvajra, and in form you appear as the soul refuge, the wish-fulfilling jewel. When we visualize, we first recite the syllable Ah. Ah represents that everything is of the nature of emptiness. So, how do we visualize? When visualizing, all that is encompassed by samsara and nirvana, all the phenomena of all things, are in fact originally pure. They are emptiness in nature. Actually, this original purity, as Mipham Rinpoche explained in the Beacon of Certainty, as well as the Indian master Chandrakirti and the Tibetan scholar Rongzom Pandita, they all unanimously established that all phenomena are originally pure and of the nature of emptiness. The point is to establish this emptiness. So first, we visualize that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are emptiness in nature. And this kind of emptiness, in fact, if we speak from the perspective of luminosity, is our own innate awareness. So within the inseparability of emptiness and luminous awareness, what do we visualize? Within its unceasing self-radiance, an expanse of five-colored wisdom light. As mentioned earlier, it is actually this kind of innate nature within the state where luminosity and emptiness are inseparable. We visualize the nature of all these phenomena, which in fact is never extinguished. It is the five-colored wisdom light realm, a realm pervaded by the five-colored wisdom light, which is like a halo of light, meaning that everything becomes like an illusion or a dream, or emptiness itself. Within emptiness, visualize an indestructible wisdom five-colored light. The five-colored light, as we mentioned earlier, in the wish-fulfilling treasure, the five kinds of wisdom correspond to five kinds of light, which are five different colors of light. So, when visualizing the Guru, within all-pervading emptiness, visualize a rainbow encircled by five-colored light. Within this, you should visualize the Guru. How should you visualize? When visualizing, here, it is a bit different from the great perfection Manjushri. The Guru's true nature is the noble Manjuvajra. So, the Guru's essence is the embodiment of the wisdom of all Buddhas, the Manjuvajra of inconceivable qualities and courageous wisdom. That is Bodhisattva Manjushri. It is the wisdom warrior Manjushri we are currently practicing. The wisdom warrior Manjuvajra, any one of the 5 aspects of Manjushri is acceptable, but here the main focus is on yellow Manjushri. The true nature is Bodhisattva Manjushri, and the appearance is that of the Guru, the wish-fulfilling jewel. This is different from what was mentioned earlier. Some of its principles are explained in more detail in Finding Comfort and Ease in the Illusoriness of Things. It is said that one must visualize one's own Guru. If you practice the Yidam, you will not attain liberation after a long time. Longchenpa cites scriptural evidence. When practicing Guru Yoga, even within a short period of time, one can attain accomplishment even in as little as 6 months. Of course, we have discussed this before as well. Mainly, this applies to those who have faith in their Guru. They perceive the Guru's true nature because you feel there is no difference between the Guru and the Buddha. But if you don't have that much faith in your Guru and see the Guru as someone with a wrinkled face and white hair, if that's how you think, but if you see the Guru as appearing like Manjushri Bodhisattva, then he is adorned with perfect marks and qualities. So when His Holiness teaches, he gives different instructions at different times. For example, when teaching the great perfection Manjushri, His Holiness says the essence is the Guru, and this is very important regarding the Guru. But the form should be visualized as Manjushri Bodhisattva. Otherwise, if you see the Guru as an elderly person with a face full of wrinkles, then you may not necessarily develop faith. Here, the visualization is to directly see the Guru. This is the difference here. For those who have faith, they directly visualize the Guru. If your faith is still not sufficient, then on the surface, it appears that the essence is the Guru. But what you see is Manjushri Bodhisattva, or what you see is Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. So these are the perspectives of different tantras, or according to different views. It is also acceptable according to people's own ideas. Whenever we practice the Guru Yoga of His Holiness, during the Guru Yoga practice, we must visualize the Guru Rinpoche himself with his own facial features, including the current Thanka of His Holiness's Guru Yoga practice. We basically used a computer to recreate his facial appearance to present the true facial features of His Holiness himself. Some people may have never seen His Holiness before. Apart from photos, they have never seen him in person either. If you had an audience with His Holiness in the past, you would know what His Holiness was like, including what his dignified and noble face looked like. You should recall each of these aspects one by one. Moreover, after the Guru Yoga was composed in the past, the Guru also said that now the Guru's image should be visualized in this way. At that time, the Guru also mentioned, for example, in the lineage of His Holiness, Jigme, Phuntsok Rinpoche, many people visualize the Guru as their own root teacher. If you belong to a different tradition, and you don't have faith in His Holiness, but you are still willing to rely on this practice to cultivate, then your Guru, if you have a greatly kind root Guru yourself, you can visualize the Guru in his form. This is completely acceptable. If, for example, I do not have that much faith in His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, if you don't have such great faith, but you have someone in whom you have deep faith, of course, when it comes to the Guru, it still needs to be a Guru with genuine qualities. Otherwise, if you think someone is a good Guru, but in reality, in their own mind stream, they lack the qualities of wisdom, compassion, and power, and even have a lot of greed, anger, and desire, and all sorts of other issues, then it might not actually bring much benefit. So it is very important that you find a Guru who truly has blessings. If you really can't find such a Guru, then you can visualize Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is universally recognized, and some of his power and influence, when we infer using logical reasoning, are truly remarkable. The other day I met a scholar who doesn't believe in Buddhism. He said, "Your Khenpo is truly great." I asked him, "Why do you say that?" He said, "First of all, establishing such an institute shows incredible foresight. Secondly, even though he has left this world, some of his great achievements still remain in this world, enduring and steadfast, and will truly never perish. This in itself is also truly and remarkably noteworthy. Thirdly, he had also diligently read some of his profound and insightful books. But what is described in those books, most ordinary scholars probably wouldn't be able to grasp. He mainly focused on certain works, such as the Dharma King's treatises on astronomy and calendrical calculations, as well as some writings that might be considered more worldly, including his teachings on the 2 codes of conduct. Although these are worldly principles, the way he explained them was indeed quite different from the way others spoke about them. There was a clear distinction, so even people in the secular world acknowledged that the master was truly remarkable. Therefore, as Buddhists, we do not take sides, saying which master is good or which master is not. As long as, for example, if we are thirsty, there is really no difference in the water you drink. Water from India is fine, water from Nepal is fine, and water from Tibet is also fine. Because I am truly parched inside, as long as drinking it can quench my thirst, then I can drink it. So if you need to rely on the blessings of a particular master, what you actually need is the blessing from that master. So I feel that in our institute, there is relatively little sectarian bias. For example, we often pray to Master Tsongkhapa, and we also pray to Sakya Pandita, and we also pray to the omniscient Dolpopa and Taranatha of the Jonang school, as well as Marpa and Milarepa of the Kagyu school. This is probably related to our connection with our precious Guru, his Rinpoche, non-sectarian perspective or unbiased view, which may have some influence on us. But some other schools are not like this, right? They only stick to their own Guru and their own tradition. And apart from that, even when teaching or giving Dharma talks, they won't mention a single teaching or even a single word from other schools. But it's also fine not to mention them. However, sometimes we need to have a mindset of inclusiveness. This also applies to our practice. You can visualize any guru's form you wish to practice. This is what I just talked about. First, within the state of emptiness, visualize the radiance surrounded by rainbow light. Within this light, the guru's true nature is Manjushri Bodhisattva, but the appearance is that of our precious guru. Visualize in this way. So, what kind of guru is he specifically? This will be explained next. When visualizing, it says, brilliant white with a radiant smile and Pandita's attire, with the mudra of expounding the Dharma, holding a sword and volume of text, your 2 legs crossed as you radiate boundless rays of light. All is vividly clear, an adornment of pure self-appearance. Then, when visualizing, this guru just mentioned, his entire face is white with a rosy glow. Or it is both white and very distinct, and especially beautiful and joyful. He wears the attire of a Pandita. The Pandita's attire includes a pointed hat on his head. This hat, in fact, was commonly worn by the Panditas of Nalanda Monastery in those days, as well as the Panditas of Jetavana Monastery. They all typically wore this kind of hat. Moreover, the pointed tip of the hat represents the sharpness of Madhyamaka philosophy. On both sides, it symbolizes the ultimate truth and the conventional truth, and then the ultimate and conventional truths. Finally, they all merge and come together into one unified entity in his fundamental and essential nature. The entire body of the hat is unified as one. So at that time, the Pandita's hat, and also the inside of it, generally speaking, in many thankas and photos of Panditas, the inner layer of clothing is a vibrant blue. As for the rest of the attire, in the thankas we usually see in Guru Yoga, it is depicted in the same way. His entire outfit, when visualizing a Pandita, in fact the overall image of a Pandita, whether it is some masters from the Sakya tradition or some masters from the Gelug tradition, including some masters from the Nyingma tradition, all wear this kind of hat. But there are some subtle differences in certain internal aspects. It represents a kind of wisdom and a kind of compassion. The guru is depicted wearing this appearance. So in Tibetan Buddhism, whether it is a revered geshe or a distinguished Khenpo, they all invariably wear this particular kind of hat, which is also a significant symbol representing their esteemed status, and also a symbol of wisdom. It is also a significant symbol of high status. He wears this distinctive kind of Pandita hat. As for the mudra, it is the teaching mudra. Generally speaking, when we are talking about the teaching mudra, which is a significant gesture, this mudra is formed with the right hand facing outward and the left hand facing inward, held at the heart center. Just like Shakyamuni Buddha in the past, the mudra he used when giving teachings was the same. Now, if you go to Deer Park in India, the mudra on the statue of Shakyamuni Buddha from that time is also the same. On top of this, he holds a lotus flower. On the flower, there is a sword and a scripture case. One represents the symbol of wisdom, and the other signifies wisdom integrated into the Tripitaka and the 12 branches of scriptures, or as a representation of the Tripitaka and the 3 trainings. The wisdom sword and the scripture case are like this. Then both legs are in the Vajra full lotus posture. The whole body radiates boundless and immeasurable light. Then, in the space right in front of oneself and within one's own perception, all is vividly clear, an adornment of pure self-appearance. If we say an adornment of pure self-appearance, the entire world is not as we usually describe it, not impure, chaotic, or full of sand and stones like that. The whole world is extremely transparent and magnificent, just like the pure land of ultimate bliss. Moreover, all appearances that one sees are the subtle forms of the Guru. All sounds that one hears are the Guru's Vajra speech. All thoughts that arise, all of this is within the Master's wisdom. With all the mundane, everyday things in the world, everything being absolutely perfect in this serene state, I then began to deeply meditate. This is a general appearance practice, a practice about one's outward form. Following this, we then begin to earnestly pray.
In the
pure realm of the great sacred site, the 5-peaked mountain, the blessings of Manjushri's wisdom ripened in your mind. Jigme Phuntsok, at your feet I pray. Inspire me with your blessings. Transmit the realization of the wisdom mind lineage. This is the prayer of the Dharma King. As for this prayer, in fact, it is from the peaceful Manjushri sadhana, a prayer contained within it. When His Holiness composed the Guru Yoga, it was done in 1995. He went to Mount Wutai in 1987. However, in this Guru Yoga, His Holiness's prayer is quoted. The main meaning of this prayer is that within the pure land of the sacred Mount Wutai, all the realizations and blessings of Bodhisattva Manjushri merge into the heart. Whose heart is this? It is that of His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok. Then we pray to His Holiness through the blessings of mind transmission. May my mind attain enlightenment. If one prays with such devotion, one's own continuum will transform and receive the Guru's blessings. Wasn't it when Kyabje Chakme Rinpoche was 31 years old? I remember he began his retreat. During the retreat, he did 4 sessions of retreat practice. In each session, he recited this prayer. He fervently prayed to his root guru. And when he emerged from retreat, it was very successful, because it seems that these masters, whatever practice they do, it comes very easily to them. It's like carrying a cell phone with them. If they want to practice Manjushri Bodhisattva, it's as if they just make a phone call to him. He arrives in no time at all. But no matter how hard we recite and recite, in the end, when we come out of retreat, it seems exactly the same as before, and we feel a bit disappointed. But sometimes that's okay too. Look at Asanga Bodhisattva. Over 12 years, he first practiced for 3 years, but it didn't work. And then he practiced for another 6 years, still to no avail, and then for 9 years. Finally, when it reached 12 years, it was by relying on the corpse of a female dog that he began to give rise to genuine compassion in his mind stream. And then he saw Maitreya Bodhisattva. Sometimes when we look at it, it seems like maybe we just aren't diligent enough. Look at Asanga Bodhisattva. He was like this. He was someone whom Shakyamuni Buddha personally prophesied in the Mahayana Sutras, someone who received a prophecy. But even for him, things appeared this way on the surface. So we definitely need to put in the effort. But sometimes when we look at it, it really does seem that those masters, after praying, received blessings. Take Nyosho Lungtok, for example. He kept praying, saying, "May all the blessings of your body, speech and mind, my greatly kind root guru, merge into my own mind stream." He only recited this, he didn't recite anything else. But later, his retreat was very successful. In the end, he truly realized Dzogchen enlightenment. According to several detailed accounts and various reports related to him, it is indeed quite evident that there exists a truly significant and notable difference in this particular regard. However, in some cases, it might not be that simple. For example, at the very beginning, Sakyakunga Gyaltsen, that is Sakya Pandita regarding Sakyakunga Gyaltsen, when looking at related materials, he too at the beginning, because his uncle, who seemed to be Sakya Drakpa Gyaltsen, he asked him to transmit a Guru Yoga practice to him, but he did not transmit it to him. He said, "Right now your discursive thoughts are too strong. In terms of various theoretical teachings, Your mind is always attached, so I won't transmit it to you yet. Later on, it seems that his master, who was also his uncle, began to fall ill and became very seriously ill. Sakya Pandita himself also became gravely ill. Moreover, there were many signs of impending death. It seemed he was about to die soon. But at that moment, he let go of his own concerns and devoted himself wholeheartedly to caring for his master. He felt that it didn't matter if he died or was sick himself, as long as his master was all right. That was enough for him, so he did everything he could to serve his master. Later, the master may have noticed his sincerity and said, "Now I can transmit Guru Yoga to you." Then he transmitted Guru Yoga to him. Previously, his understanding was only theoretical. In the end, he truly realized the nature of mind. From then on, whether it was the exoteric or esoteric teachings, he could apply them freely, with complete mastery and without any obstacles. There was nothing he couldn't do. So when we look at the biographies of each master, some of their experiences sometimes seem to involve a bit of hardship. Take His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, for example, when he prayed to Mipham Rinpoche. It also seemed that he put in a great deal of effort. He would diligently recite this profound verse 100 times and carefully read the sacred Dharma text, direct pointing to the nature of mind. In this case, it seems that diligence is also required. However, there may be some aspects where we may not be able to reach their level, even if we cannot attain the same realization as they did. If we can cultivate compassion and bodhicitta in our own continuum, and ensure that our own practice and monastic life begin and end well. In this respect, we will definitely receive the unique blessings of the Guru. In fact, this is also extremely important. We don't necessarily have to, when we come out of retreat, be exactly like Pema Dundan in the past, with only a fingernail left and nothing else at all. When the wooden hut is opened at that time, the inside is filled with fragrance and nothing remains. Some leave behind a bit of hair, some leave behind a bit of fingernail, and some leave nothing at all. All have attained the perfect rainbow body accomplishment. Perhaps we may not be able to achieve this, and when we come out of retreat, because we haven't exercised, our bodies start to gain weight. Maybe we've eaten a bit too much. In the end, when we weigh ourselves, wow, people nowadays are very worried, afraid of gaining weight, so they want to lose weight. So for 15 days we don't move at all. In this case, we still don't know what will happen. In this regard, it's true that sometimes this kind of practice is actually a very good method. It seems that as I keep talking, I end up not daring to practice Guru Yoga anymore, because people nowadays care a lot about their bodies. Next, let me continue. Just now, we talked about constantly praying with all our strength, praying as hard as we can. At that time, I think it was Patrul Rinpoche, when he prayed to the Guru, he would reflect on the Guru's kindness. At first, he would recall it 10 times a day. On the second day, 20 times. On the third day, 30 times, increasing step by step, always adding more. If you use this method, it might also be a very good approach. So sometimes, if we pray sincerely during the day, we tend to have more dreams at night. This is something that many people, including some of the most senior and respected disciples in our institute now, often dream of the revered Guru. In their dreams, there are all kinds of blessings and empowerments given to them, as well as teachings and initiations. Actually, this shows that the Guru is always bestowing blessings at all times. Of course, if you haven't thought about it at all during the day, it might be a bit difficult. Nowadays, many people, including those living in big cities, often say, "I dream of His Holiness every day." They say, "His Holiness told me something, His Holiness gave me." Some of these may not necessarily be accurate. Yesterday, someone said, "His Holiness has been reborn into my family. Is my youngest son indeed the Guru?" And I said, "Honestly, I truly do not know." Then he felt quite embarrassed and very quickly left the room. But in some cases, people truly receive the Guru's blessings. Such phenomena are actually quite common. At the end, during the closing meditation, we need to recite this verse. The meaning is that at the end, the Guru becomes a sphere of 5-colored light which enters the crown of my head and dissolves into the center of my heart. I obtain the blessing of becoming equal to the Guru in whom all the Buddha's wisdom is combined. So at this final moment, there is this kind of gathering and absorption. When gathering and absorbing, just now, we visualize the Master and the 5-colored light. The visualization is actually very simple. For beginners, it is quite easy to visualize. Otherwise, in the sacred Longchen Nyingtik Guru Yoga meditation, there is indeed a very lengthy explanation talking about Guru Rinpoche. It was said that there was a disciple of Lama Yukok who said, "Now I find practicing Guru Yoga especially troublesome. When visualizing Padmasambhava, I can't recall the outer supports of the three jewels, and if I keep visualizing like this, I get very tired. Every day I visualize one, then forget another. Then I visualize another and forget yet another." Later, Lama Yukok told him, "You don't need to visualize in such detail. You can just generally think that Padmasambhava is in front of me and is inseparable from the Guru." Later, in some of the Guru's teachings, it was also mentioned, perhaps referring to what he told that disciple. Later, he said, if you can't visualize clearly, just generally think that Padmasambhava is in front of you, or we can visualize our Guru Rinpoche. If the visualization isn't very clear, just think, oh, our Guru Rinpoche is in front of me. At first, you can look at the Thangka, and then gradually, little by little, if you can visualize with your eyes closed, that's best. If you really can't visualize even that, just think, the Guru is definitely in front of me, always blessing me. Thinking this way is also fine. So no matter what, the mandala in front of you, the Guru you visualize in front of you, in the end, visualize it transforming into a 5-colored light sphere. A luminous sphere of white, red, yellow, blue, and green light. Actually, this 5-colored light sphere is the wisdom sphere. As for the wisdom sphere, just now, within the 5-colored light, you visualize the Guru, the embodiment of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Now imagine all the 5-colored light around it being gathered back in, and it becomes a ball of light. Then this ball of light slowly, gradually, completely merges into yourself from the crown of your head. Yesterday, in the wish-fulfilling treasury, we visualize a central channel in the middle, right? It descends through the central channel. You are still in an ordinary human body. Then through the central channel, the 5-colored wisdom sphere slowly, gradually descends. And when it reaches the heart center, your impure mind and the Guru's 5-colored wisdom sphere completely merge into one. Because on one hand, you have attained the 5 kinds of wisdom of all the Buddhas, or the blessings of body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities. On the other hand, your mind and the Guru's mind merge into one. At the end of Guru Yoga, you and the Guru become completely inseparable. So what do you gain from this? What is the essence of all the wisdom of the Buddhas that you attain? It is the Guru. Our Guru is the embodiment of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. This is his ultimate nature. And then you receive the blessings that are in harmony with this connection. So what do you gain from this? The Guru is the embodiment of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You attain the exact same level of realization as the Guru. In other words, I have attained the wish-fulfilling jewel that is the Guru, his body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities, all of these flawless qualities. I have also received them in the same way. Because the Guru is constantly like this, so when I take my seat and begin the visualization in front of me, when visualizing in front of you, it's not as complicated as the generation or completion stages. Some people often ask, when visualizing the Guru in front, do you need to transform the syllable shi? Do you need to transform the syllable hong? Do you need to transform the syllable di? None of these are mentioned in the ritual manual. If it's not mentioned, there's no need to add unnecessary embellishments. Just follow the Vajra speech liturgy as it is, and that's enough. Just visualize in front of you. Does the Guru need a cushion? Does it need a lotus seat or a sun disk? Is it okay to have just one? Many people are very particular about these distinctions. Can you visualize another figure next to the Guru? Is it okay to visualize me from Rinpoche? Or should there be a Manjushri Bodhisattva above? I just took a look earlier at a Guru Yoga Thangka we use in the morning, and there's a person painted on it here. I honestly don't even know who actually painted it. That particular person seems quite unfamiliar to me. At the very beginning, the picture you played before class just now, please play it again for everyone. My thought is, if it's not clearly stated in the ritual manual, there's no need for us to add a lot of things. If it is clearly stated, then of course you can add them. What I mean is, just now we received the collective wisdom of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and the Guru Rinpoche is completely in harmony with that connection. Actually, this is a path empowerment. Every morning when we get up, we should practice like this. If we practice like this before going to bed at night, its power is truly swift. Very strong, very good, and we should practice it. When we were practicing the wish-fulfilling treasury that day, Venerable Longchenpa required us to recite the Fourfold Refuge 100 times every day. At that time, I also hoped everyone could do it. In the long run, if I were still young, when I was in my 20s, I vowed to recite the Fourfold Refuge 100 times every day. Actually, reciting the Fourfold Refuge doesn't take up any time at all. When I come down from home, I finish reciting it completely by the time I get here. I recite it while walking down here, just like that. So if we can persist, many things are entirely possible. This time we are to practice Guru Yoga 10,000 times. Of course, this is a set requirement, but it's not just about practicing it once. In fact, Guru Yoga is a long-term practice. On this point, we can say without shame, even though our practice may not always be perfect, we have been doing this for 30 years. This year marks exactly 30 years, and basically we have never missed a session during class. To ensure we don't miss it, we include it in our daily recitations. So I also hope that many people, no matter where you go, no matter which city you move to, some people, when they arrive in a different city, immediately forget the precious teachings they once received, teachings as valuable as gold, and gradually, little by little, they forget and give them up. This is truly a pity. In the past, many Panditas went to India, and after receiving the Dharma in India and returning, because they lacked certain favorable conditions, they ended up forgetting everything. So the root of the Dharma, which is obtained from the teacher and the Dharma center, after obtaining it, should accompany sentient beings, not just for a day or two, and not be abandoned immediately due to other circumstances. It shouldn't be like that. Ultimately, by practicing in this way, one abides in the Dharmakaya free from all elaborations. After we finish reciting, generally speaking, because just now the Guru has already merged into ourselves, our own mind and the Guru's body, speech and mind, have become inseparable and indistinguishable. In such a state of the Dharmakaya, free from all elaborations, we abide for as long as possible. If we can abide in this way, it is very good. Even when we are abiding, that day when the chant leader first came out of meditation, she struck the wooden fish very loudly, and it seemed like we were all a bit startled by it. But later they realized, now it's still dead a day, and then, following this, they begin to recite. So then, after coming out of meditation, we should regard all appearances as the very essence of the Guru. At this time, just as mentioned earlier, the entire world, everything, is the very essence of the Guru. It is the play of the Guru's body, speech, and mind. So regard all appearances as the very essence of the Guru in daily life, whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. Practice in this way. When we visualize the Guru in our daily lives, all of our actions are inseparable from the Guru's blessings. Especially when we are sick or when we are happy, we should always remember the Guru's blessings. Didn't I mention the other day, how did you handle things during those special times? Everything I had, I prayed to the Guru and the three jewels. So this is also the way of an old practitioner, the practice of those great practitioners.
금속 단전 염수 랑당 롭속용 라 판비체 든든라지 저고지 그럼만 잡아 대마다 릭동 잠버야지 랑자 쏘르메트 샤르전 캡전 쯔비용하시 쯔롱도 염수 이게와 셰데 나올로 좀 소메 김카양 잡춘 쳬비 르초네 스페르와 게
This text, the 17th calendrical cycle, it was the 25th day of the 6th month in the year of the wood pig, and the hermitage where rainbow clouds gather in the sky's expanse. At the request of the Snow Landlord of Speech, Tulku Tenzin Gyatso, the Snow Landlord of Speech refers to our Tenzin Tulku here. Tenzin Tulku is very skilled in poetry. So here His Holiness praises him as the Lord of Speech. For the benefit of us disciples, he requested the composition of a Guru Yoga practice. At that time, Tenzin Rinpoche made this request, saying that for the benefit of myself and other disciples, please compose a Guru Yoga practice. And at this very moment, Ngawang Lodro Tsungme manifested effortlessly. It arose spontaneously as the natural expression of Manjushri, awareness and emptiness. Actually, this is not a conceptual thought, but the spontaneous sound of Manjushri Bodhisattva of wisdom emptiness, like the spontaneous sound soul air of the doctrine Tantra. The learned, disciplined and accomplished Lord Tulku Longtok Gyatso acted as the scribe. This refers to Longdo Tulku. Longdo Jangchub Tulku composed this text. May virtue abound. There is a prayer of aspiration at the end. In all my lives, may I never be separate from the perfect Lama, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma, mastering completely the qualities of the path and stages. May I swiftly attain the sublime state of Vajradhara. Today, we can say that this year's teachings have been successfully completed. In a moment, on one hand, we will perform a chok offering, and we also need to recite a very important lineage transmission. It was mentioned here just now that there was a specific request to recite the profound lineage of wisdom warrior Manjushri.
Tukar de la ngati kor wonchum pam churn rubjang pam churn rubjang tsrndim choktum ngutrip torikton churking la umara patsa nard ringar jarpom rudam ba jarton chumbam lepai namni ngutrip babmet tob zapchun de tam chatz kan stia dan le matobar.
We have basically practiced this Dharma for 7 days. Therefore, those fortunate individuals who encounter this profound Dharma will certainly attain complete realization within 7 lifetimes at most. As we just mentioned, there may be a few things for us to do today. We also need to perform a profound and meaningful dedication of merit. On one hand, everyone has diligently come together throughout this year to listen, contemplate, and practice. The Institute has also encountered various situations, but we have all made great efforts. So as for the courses I have taught this year, they have now been completed. After the completion, as I mentioned earlier, one very important thing is to also thank all our Dharma friends who are present here. I thought about it, and there really isn't anything else to thank in particular. So what I want to say today is, on one hand, everyone is happy to do some dedications of merit. I didn't expect that we would have this opportunity this year either. At the very beginning of this new year, I said that I might give at most 10 lectures this year. Just now, I did a rather quick and rough count, adding up all the lectures I've given throughout this entire year. There were 12 lectures on the poison-destroying peacock mind training, and 6 lectures on wisdom sword of demon subduing, about 11 lectures on the wish-fulfilling treasure, 12 lectures on a brief biography of Guru Rinpoche Padmasambhava, 35 lectures on A Journey to the West, 38 lectures on the Udana Sutra. I forgot how many on Confucius. Probably not many, and also the Heart Essence, My Heart's Advice, and the Song of Victory. Altogether, that's about 140 or 50 lectures. That's actually pretty good, because at the beginning of this year, for some special reasons, we didn't start teaching right away. In previous years, we would usually start around March or April, but this year, we only began on the 4th day of the 6th month in the Tibetan calendar. So up to now, it's still pretty good. In a moment, you all should also dedicate the merit. First, to express gratitude to the Dharma protectors. I also want to report on my translation work this year and show everyone a bit as well. If I've done something, it just so happens that this is the treasury of word and meaning. These past few days, it's basically been completed, but there's still a little bit of proofreading left to do. This is the treasury of word and meaning. Actually, as for the first draft, I did it once more than 10 years ago as well. This year, when I officially started, it was at the beginning of the year. Usually I work on it between 2 o'clock and 3:30 in the afternoon. This is the treasury of word and meaning. If you don't believe me yourself, you can take a look and examine it for yourself in a moment. This is the Udana Sutra. This is the comprehensive commentary on the Udana Sutra. On my end, I should have translated and completed the translation work up to the 28th chapter. There might still be one more chapter left after this. This is also considered acceptable. I'm wondering if I can manage to finish this completely before the beginning of next year. Generally, I do proofreading and reviewing during the quiet hours of the morning, and this work is, in fact, a comprehensive and detailed biography of the esteemed Khenpo Ngagchung. The very draft of this was completed around the month of May earlier this year. I did some proofreading inside, and it just happened to be finished recently as well. This is the biography of Khenpo Ngagchung. This is Padmasambhava's A Concert of Names. Now, after I finish here, I'll start working on this, as well as the later parts of the Udana Sutra, and also Khenpo Depa's work, Entering the Middle Way, specifically Khenpo Depa's detailed commentary on Entering the Middle Way, a truly significant and foundational text. A substantial portion of this work was completed last year. There might still be a little proofreading left for the later part. So after I finish here, I also want to work on that. I'm not careless and undisciplined when I'm outside either. But I am still very grateful, especially for the biography of Khenpo Ngagchung. It contains many key instructions and is somewhat profound. I was also worried about being punished by the Dharma protectors. because the oral transmission teachings of Khenpo Ngachung should not be given to more than 3 people. So there are many oral transmission instructions in it. That's why I was a bit concerned at the time. But in the past couple of days, including proofreading and translation, everything has been completed perfectly. Why am I revealing myself today? It's not to show off. I truly never thought of it that way. But I hope that everyone will cherish their time from now on. Do a little bit every day. I think perseverance is very important. If you persist, including my diary, which I just forgot to mention, this year's diary has also been kept up until yesterday, writing a little bit every day, just like that. So I hope that for everyone here, diligence is very important. Don't waste your time. Otherwise, life is limited. We might not even know how many years we have left in this world. It's hard to say how long that will be. So today, on one hand, I want to thank everyone here. On the other hand, I also want to thank the Dharma protectors for their blessings. Every time we pray, especially, I hope that you yourselves, whether you are men or women, if you often make offerings to the Dharma protectors, it might benefit your own career and even add weight to your words, perhaps with the blessings of the Dharma protectors as well. This is quite important. And there are many other similar meanings as well. So today, many of our tasks for this year have also been completed. Today, several of us, Khenpos and Khenmos, this morning also went to see Lama Menso to pray for her long life and for her to continue turning the wheel of Dharma, whether it's giving us empowerments or bestowing us with even more blessings. So when it comes to Lama Menso, she truly, especially in this degenerate age, serves as a female Vajra master, representing women in particular. This is truly remarkable. Last year in our biography, and in some of the teachings, this was also mentioned. So I also hope that our institute, as well as all the great masters and eminent monks around the world, may they live long and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma. May the whole world attain this happiness, and may many of the world's problems, including war and famine, gradually and slowly disappear without a trace. May the happiness and well-being of the entire world, especially the wish-fulfilling jewel of the Dharma, in every corner of the world, especially we hope that through various different causes and conditions, the Dharma will blossom everywhere like dandelions, taking root wherever it goes, especially in places like Africa, the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. In all these regions, may the wisdom and spirit of the Dharma flourish everywhere. Let us dedicate all the merit to all mother sentient beings. All right, thank you all very much. Let us all make offerings together. And finally recite the King of Aspiration prayers to dedicate and uphold the merit. Thank you, everyone.
Bandhangara Padma Sada Bandhangara Padma Sada